All right, so really common source of confusion, and something we talk about and use every day, and that's catheter sizes and sheaths. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about it, kind of what everything means that we use in terms of our microcatheter sheaths and base catheters. And so I'll try to do that in like 3 or 4 minutes. And so the first thing is when we talk about a lot of these catheters, we're refer to them in size of French. And so like for example, I'm holding a 5 French catheter right here. And so what is a French size? Well, so I think back around turn of the century, there was a French knife maker who got in the business of making surgical instruments and came up with this really precise method of basically of creating tolerances down to 1/3 of a millimeter. And that 1/3 of a millimeter tolerance for the surgical instruments was referred to as a French eventually. And so a French size is 1/3 of a millimeter, and that's all it is. And so if we say a 3 French catheter, then that's a millimeter in diameter. If we say a 6 French catheter, that's 2 millimeters in diameter. And so that's all that means is French is 1/3 of a millimeter, 3 French is a millimeter. And that's basically how things have been denominated since the beginning of vascular catheter creation. So when I talk about French size, it's important to understand what we're talking about. And what I mean by that is either outer diameter or inner diameter. And so all catheters are denominated in outer diameter. Okay, and I'm going somewhere with this. It's kind of important. It'll make sense in a minute. So the outer diameter, how thick this is from end to end, is the French size of a catheter. Sheath sizes are the opposite. They are denominated based on what size catheter they will accommodate. And so they're denominated based on the inner diameter. So a 6 French sheath, again, 6 French is 2 millimeters. It means the hole on the inside is 2 millimeters. Typically, and this is just by convention, the outer diameter is 2 Frenches of thickness of material. Okay, so I'll break that down a little bit more. Using the standard or conventional way of thinking about this, a 5 French sheath means that there's a 5 French inner diameter or hole on the inside that can accommodate up to a 5 French catheter. And so the outer diameter, how big the hole is created by the sheath, is bigger than that. And that typically, again by convention, is about 2 French sizes bigger than the inner diameter. So if we talk about a 5 French sheath, again, this is a 5 French sheath right here. The outer diameter of the sheath is actually 7 French. The inner diameter is 5 French. And that's because it will accommodate a 5 French catheter because it's a 5 French sheath. And so the denomination is simple. It's all based on, so as to not be confusing, what size catheter can go inside of it. But the outer diameter of the sheath is a little bit bigger than that. And so you may say, well, closure devices, it's a 6 French Celt or a 6 French angioseal. If the outer diameter of a 6 French sheath is actually 2 French sizes larger, how does that work? And even though they call it a 6 French angioseal, it works on an 8 French outer diameter hole, if that makes sense. And so everything is sort of geared to this nomenclature of catheter and sheath. So to review, the catheter size, the outer thickness of the catheter is the French size. The sheaths are denominated based on what catheters they will allow. The only exception to that is what we refer to as a radial or a slender sheath, which I have right here. And so I have a 5 French slender sheath here, and it, again, because it's a 5 French sheath, will accommodate a 5 French catheter, which is going through here. But the thing that makes the radial sheath different is because it's only designed to go through a small amount of soft tissue before it enters the artery, they make it a lot more thin-walled. And because of that, it has a thinner profile. And instead of a 5 French sheath being 7 French outer diameter, they've shaved off some of this thickness and they've made the 5 French sheath be a 6 French outer diameter. So the outer diameter of a standard 4 French catheter is 6, a 5 French catheter is 7, and so on and so forth. But a radial sheath is only 1 French size outer diameter more than that. So a 5 French radial sheath is a 6 French outer diameter. And so that's a little bit of the differences between them. Hope that helps.